Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on how to use your voice effectively when presenting. Welcome to Alistair, Sarah, Stephen, just a small group today. So our voice has such a big impact in the way we speak. And those of you who will know that pie chart where our nonverbal communication is about 58% of what we say, our voice, the way we use our voice, the passion, the intonation, is about 32%, and the words we say only accounts for about 10%. So the voice is one of the big things that really helps convey our message, our sincerity, our authenticity. Those things are fairly common knowledge. So I want to talk to you about some advanced, some unknown, some different ways of using your voice to have more impact when you speak. Peter Dew's my name. I'm a public speaking trainer and coach. Most of you know me on this webinar. I love to help people have the courage, the confidence to speak up effectively and share their knowledge, their messages with their communities, their clients, their customers, the people that need to hear what you've got to say. So that's my mission in life, helping you share your messages confidently and effectively. Please ask questions as we go. Type in your question box and ask questions after the webinar should something surface. Really important to think of your own speaking, your own presentation skills style. Is there anything you can do differently as a result of the webinar? I'm all about trying to give you one or two tips so you can do things differently the next time you find yourself before an audience. Let's get started. So what I'm going to cover are 5 tips. I think the title said 6 tips. I've got 5, but there's various things within the 5 tips. So the first one, of course, is the role of speed and pace. The second one is your volume. And going soft is valuable sometimes. And part of going soft is how to bring your audience back. So you have a room full of people, they're networking, they're talking, and you want to bring them back. How to use your voice to be approachable. Hey guys, really pleased to be here. I love doing webinars. How to make your voice more credible. So this is the 4 steps or the 5 steps I'm going to cover during the webinar. So I've just subtly moved from approachability to credibility. And finally, the power of the pause. As speakers, trainers, facilitators, educators, we need to be comfortable with pause. That's what I'm going to cover during the webinar. So the role of speed and pace. One of the things that speed and pace can do, it can increase the energy, and it also allows you to give people time to think. For me, my voice is not all that rich. I don't have that beautiful, resonating, radio quality voice. I have a fairly nasal, monotone voice. One of the things that I do is change pace, speed it up, slow it down to create some vocal variety. And you can imagine when someone's really energized about something, they're very strongly in agreement, they will speed up. So the passion often comes through with speed and energy. But as you'll also see, the other end, the slowing down, is a valuable tool, especially if you are a fast speaker. I generally don't speak that fast. As a person who stutters, I need to speak a bit slower. So my speeding up is purely through energy and excitement. But I need to remember to slow down, as do most speakers. What if you do speak too fast And it's really quite simple if you speak too fast. And that is about using pause. So if you were writing a script for your Minister of Water Resources, your Minister for Disability, your Minister for Health, you were writing a speech for your CEO and you were giving them speech notes, this is what you would do. You would put double slashes, so there'd be text, text, text words, and then double slashes where you want the person to deliberately slow down or take a breath. And then more words, and then you can do a triple slash. So this is a really long pause. The other thing that you do sometimes is you will underline particular words when you're writing the script, and they're the words that we need you to emphasize. They're the words that need highlighting for the minister to present. So metaphorically, if you are a rapid speaker, you can in your mind use those silence, that pause, more frequently to give the illusion that you're slowing down. And every now and then you can increase the duration, so the frequency. So if you're a rapid speaker, put more in. A classic example of someone who speaks really quickly, quite rapidly in fact, but nobody perceives him as a rapid speaker, would be Barack Obama. So watch Barack Obama with YouTube, and he speaks really quite fast. But then he uses this silence to slow down or give you the impression of slowing down. So that's what you do if you do speak too fast. The volume is really valuable in terms of creating impact and nailing your take-home messages. So you know those messages you want people to remember? You can decide whether you're going to go softer or louder. Are you going to turn the volume down or are you going to turn the volume up? The way to work this out is, are you naturally a very loud speaker? Or are you generally a softer spoken speaker? You will know that. You will know that. So I tend to speak quite loud because I have training rooms and I have audiences up to 50 people without a microphone. So I'm used to projecting my voice. Here's the thing. For your key messages, so the takeaway messages you want people to do, the thing is to go opposite to your natural voice. So for me, I soften my voice on the key take-home messages. So I'm hoping that makes sense to you. So I've gone back to my normal talking voice. I need to soften my voice for you to remember those key points. If you're naturally a soft speaker, then you would increase your voice on those key points. It seems counterintuitive, but you feel less comfortable speaking soft or less comfortable increasing your volume because it's not your natural speaking voice. So it creates a remembrance pattern for the audience. Go opposite to your normal speaking voice if you want to increase those key points. The key points, just go opposite to your normal voice. Let's just go soft now. Let's use the whisper, and it can be a whisper. So when you, now listen up, listen very carefully. To create tension, to create attention. So what I'm going to say next is really, really important. So by softening your voice, you can create tension and you can create attention. the whisper is really quite powerful. And if you want to bring an audience back, so you've got 30, 40 people in a room and they're all doing brainstorming, they're doing networking, they're doing facilitation at their tables, and you are running this session and you want to bring the audience back. What do most people do when they want to bring the audience back? Well, some people, they ding, 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 ding on their glass. Can I have everybody's attention? Excuse me, can I have everybody's attention? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to come back. So what happens as you raise your voice, the audience speaks louder. So you raise your voice, the audience goes louder. So do the reverse. So as the audience is talking and you hear a volume, just come in with a bit lower. So ladies and gentlemen, and they'll come down a bit. So can I have everyone's attention? Can I have everyone's attention back to the front, please? And as you bring your voice down, the audience discussion, the din will come down. The other thing that I would show in another webinar is a visual agreement. So when I put my hand up, can everybody come back? So those of you who see my hand, can you please stop talking? When I do the visual and the whisper, people will come back to you fairly quickly as a facilitator, if you're chairing a meeting, if you're leading a group. The other thing that helps is if you throw out with the whisper a broken sentence. So a broken sentence is something that doesn't make sense. It's incomplete. So now if everyone's almost ready to come back, I'd like to grab your attention. So by about the third passage of the broken sentence and the lowering of the voice thrown in with a visual cue, you can bring a group of 300, 400 people back to you within that 3 to 4 seconds without the need for banging, clanging, and shouting. The value, the impact of going soft. I'm going to pause for a moment. Are there any questions at this stage? What if you go soft and they don't come back? There's a whole range of things you can do if you're having a noisy facilitation to bring people back. The secret is to let people know what you're going to do, the tool or the method you're going to use to bring people back. And besides the visual and going soft, another one is to let people, before they break out. So you've got the introduction, you've got everyone in the room seated, you've got your attention, you're now outlining the program for the day, what's going to be happening, they're going to be doing group work, and you're going to need them to come back. So one of the things you can do, so those people, if you hear me clap, can you clap with me? If you hear me clap, I want you to clap with me. So when I do that, I want you to clap. So those of you who clap or you see someone clapping, you are to clap with them. So what you do is when you want people back, you say, all right, can everyone come back? And just clap, and just clap. And 4 or 5 people will see you and they'll clap. And then their groups will see them clap, and within 3 to 4 seconds, everyone will be clapping with you, and then you just go silent. Stop the clapping and you've got the group back. There are those people, there's about 20 to 30% of the audience will be very observant, relying on you, and they will do what you tell. And I'm one of those. I will obey the facilitator's lead. So if someone's talking to me and I've had an instruction to stop talking, I will ignore you and turn to the front. So you're now talking to someone who's not listening. So you will say, well, this is a waste of time, and it spreads a little bit like a virus. So bringing the audience back, go soft. How to use your voice to bring an audience back. So we've just covered that. That's an expansion of the point above. My apologies. So how to bring the audience back, go soft. Go soft, throw out the boomerang, give an audio visual, or you can Google other methods of bringing the audience back. I don't like the, the tap tap on the microphone to bring people back. I don't like the shouting. I don't like the ding ding on the wine glasses. That's fine at a wedding if you're about to make a speech, but I still see ding 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 and nobody stops talking. I mean, everyone's excited at the wedding. So by setting the rules up front, you can bring people back quickly. When to be approachable and when to be credible. So sometimes within your presentation, you need to be the captain of your presentation. You've got some instructions, you've got some rules, you want everybody to be safe, you want the new policy to be implemented. And other times you want to be the cabin crew. And that means you want to be, let's have a discussion. I'm open to negotiation. I really want to be of support to you. So there's a few things that change when you want to be the captain, which means credible, and when you want to be approachable, which is the flight attendant, the cabin crew. Let me give you an example. I fly a lot and I'm off to Hobart, Melbourne and Hobart on Saturday morning. So I'm sitting in my Qantas flight, Virgin flight. The captain comes across. This is your captain speaking. We have a flight time of 4.5 hours. We'll be cruising at an altitude of 36,000 feet. We're expecting smooth flying conditions, but please keep your seatbelts fastened for your own safety. I'm going to get back to you closer to our destination with an update on the weather conditions. Enjoy your flight. Then the cabin crew, later on in the flight, they come across the PA system. This is your cabin crew speaking. Our aim today is to make this flight as pleasant and safe for you as possible. If there's anything that we can do to help you in any way, please do not hesitate to let one of the crew know, and we'll do our best to help you. Enjoy your flight. The captain is not negotiating with you whether you want to go to 40,000 feet, 32,000 feet, whether you want a 4-hour flight time or you want to speed up in 3.5. He's sending you unequivocal information. The flight attendant is being approachable. Anything you want, I'm happy to talk to you, happy to negotiate. Sometimes you need to send information. Sometimes you need to receive and be approachable and receive information. Let me show you the next slide that goes a little bit further. Today I'm just talking about voice, but you may have also noticed when I was the captain, my head stays still. And when I was the cabin crew, my head bobbed up and down a little bit. When I was the captain, my voice was steady. When I was the cabin crew, my voice popped up and down with a rise and fall, particularly. The intonation for credible tends to go downward at the end of each sentence. The intonation for being approachable goes up at the end of each sentence. Australians naturally have an upturn at the end of each sentence. What you didn't see was, as the captain, and when I'm telling you what I think is the way forward, my credibility, part of that is my palms face down, my head stays still. Does that make sense? I'm hoping this makes sense to you. So my palm is now up, more approachable. The other thing that's not on this thing is the eye. Credibility is generally frozen eye, less blinking, 2 boxes facing off at the interview, at the weigh-in, and Jeff Horn and the Filipino boxer, the first person who blinks is seen as the weaker person. When you want to be more approachable, you blink more often and you're just seen as being softer. You want to send information and you're credible and you blink and you bob your head, you're probably not going to be seen as credible. Great way to use the voice, that understanding that maybe people are not getting your message because you're not coming across as credible. Classic example, previous Prime Minister Julia Gillard perhaps did not enjoy the confidence, the credibility with the Australian audience that I think she deserved. Very clever lady, very intelligent lady, but she had the head that bobbed up and down all the time when she speaks, which is lovely. And I'm so glad we could all get together and have this chat. I'm glad you're enjoying the webinar. But when you're Prime Minister of Australia, sometimes you need to be more credible. If you want to listen to some credible speakers at the moment, I would say Julie Bishop comes across quite credible, does a very good Frozen Eye, and Matthias Gorman, Belgian, Flemish, German type, Germanic, Flemish speaking, has a definite downturn at the end of his sentences. Despite his accent, he's a very credible speaker. And that is perhaps why he's doing rather well, why he's been anointed as someone to watch in the future. He speaks with a very credible voice. Malcolm Turnbull, less credible, has some non-verbals that cause a little bit of concern in terms of bouncing up and down as he speaks. And when you bounce your hands, you lose a little bit of credibility. So I'll put my hands out of the way. This chart's really valuable for you. Start of a presentation, be approachable. Towards the end of a presentation, as you're sending information, be more credible. And then when you wrap up, so are you all on the same page, approachable. Any questions on this one? This comes from Michael Grinder, by the way. Michael Grinder, Grinder. You can Google him and look at some of his YouTubes. Probably the world's #1 expert on nonverbal intelligence and nonverbal communication. Both voice, gestures, eye contact. The pause. As speakers, we need to become comfortable with pause. The pause also eliminates ums and ahs, other filler words. So I'm going to talk about the pause a little bit more. I love this quote from Sir Ralph Richardson, and it goes like this: the most precious things in a speech are pauses. A pause will fill the void, capture attention, it will punctuate, illuminate, and build the tension within a speech. I mentioned my nasal monotone voice. The pause, along with change of speed and change of volume, helps me create vocal variety, helps me create a mildly interesting voice. So let's talk about pause a little bit more. You need to become comfortable with pause. It is the antidote if you speak too fast. Remember those double slashes? That is the pause. It's when your mind goes blank, so you don't know what you're going to say next. The beauty of this is when I lose my train of thought, when my mind goes blank, you don't know. The audience doesn't know that I've just lost my track, my thoughts. I've had a brain drain. I've had a senior's moment. You don't know. So if I'm comfortable with pause, 99% of the time I will recover. And if I don't tell you, oops, sorry, I've just lost my way, if I don't let you know and I learn to live with the comfort of the pause, then you have no idea. And I look more credible and more confident. And what I find is 99% of the time when your mind goes blank, you will recover. And if you don't, if you just can't recall what it is you wanted to talk about, move on. Move on to your next point and it will come and you can weave it in later on. I was in Karatha Thursday, Friday, just gone, doing a presentation. I did 2 presentations in the one day. The first one in the morning, I acknowledged the traditional landowners, the Nullama people. And then in the afternoon, I started again. I got into my introduction and about 5 minutes in, I realized I had not acknowledged the traditional landowners. And I was doing a bit of an introduction about me, and so I said, look, I'm really, really glad and privileged to be here today in Karratha. I love coming to Karratha, and one of the things I love about it is that this is traditional land. This is the land of the Nullama people, and I feel really privileged, and I always respect past and present custodians and the elders, and nobody knew that I had mucked it up. So this is learning to be comfortable with pause and silence, having a brain drain, it doesn't matter. And it also replaces those, you know, the if, now what was I going to say next? The ums and ahs, the filler words, you know, and, you know, so what I, you know, really like, you know, you're buying yourself some time to gather your thoughts. But by using pause, you're doing exactly the same thing and sounding intelligent. So what is my most memorable event that I've attended in my life? I guess it would have to be the 2003 Rugby World Cup that my son and I attended in Sydney. Unfortunately, Johnny Wilkinson kicked that field goal and Australia lost to England. What is the most memorable sporting event that I've ever attended? I guess it would have to be the 2003 Rugby World Cup that took place in Sydney in 2003, and Johnny Wilkinson kicked that last minute field goal and Australia lost the World Cup to England. Same response. I think I made a few different words. Which one sounded more confident, more intelligent? And universally people say the one with pauses. Also brain drops. So when you speak too fast, so I'm giving you lots of information, lots of knowledge. Think of the information as brain drops. When it rains too fast, I mentioned Karratha. I also went to Port Hedland, got the tail of Cyclone Kevin, and it absolutely poured down on the road between Karratha and Port Hedland. Had to stop to 90k, flooding about this much, drove through, no problems, and the water wasn't draining off. When you speak far too much fast or far too much information too rapidly, people don't have time to take on board what you've just said. Sorry for that. So the pause simply allows the water to soak in, your brain drops to soak into people's brains, creates suspense, it illuminates. That's the power of the pause. Silence also helps you form a group. And there's Michael Grinder's name there. So, you know, when you have a first date, it's very awkward. So we speak and we speak and we speak. We must not have silence. The silence feels really uncomfortable. As a facilitator, as a speaker, if you model silence, you move your group onto the fourth, fifth date, you fall in love, you say nothing, and you just peer into each other's eyes. When you model silence, you're helping the group metaphorically form and become functional and fall in love with you or become comfortable with you in a quicker period of time. Silence helps the group form. When you first start facilitating, everyone's a bit nervous, they're chatting and they're looking at you, you know, waiting for you to take the lead. If you model that silence is okay, that group will form quicker. So there you go. Be aware of your speed and pace. The importance of volume. How to use your voice to bring an audience back. When to be approachable and when to be credible. And use of pause. Become comfortable with silence. Next webinar, upcoming webinars, 6 strategies. If your mind goes blank, the pause is indeed one of them. But I have other strategies from mind mapping to bringing up props to, excuse me, grabbing a drink of water. We'll talk about that next later on in the month. Workshops all across Brisbane. I'm going to Hobart, but they're all closed. We're open workshops in Brisbane, back in Perth. And of course, we've got workshops in Adelaide and Bendigo and Darwin. So if you have any colleagues in any of those regions, please let them know that we will be in town. Send me an email. I can send you the flyers. And remember, my aim is for you is to pick one or two of the tips I've shared with you today. What can you do to make more effective use of your voice? Is it around credibility? Is it around being comfortable with silence, being comfortable with a pause? Whatever it is, go out there, use your voice and change the world, your world, your clients, your customers, one conversation at a time. Bye for now.